Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready to take a bite out of the competition? Are you looking for ideas to make your business better? Welcome to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet,
sponsored by Apple Capital Group.
At the core of every successful business, you'll find people making a difference. And with each episode of the Core Business Show, we talk with those people, examine those ideas, and explore the strategies that make them special. Now, the host of the Core Business Show, Tim Jacquet.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Core Business Show. I'm Tim Jacquet, your host. Today, I've had the pleasure of having Alan Jordan. He's a managing partner at the Farpoint Alliance Company. They are based out of New Jersey, right outside of New York City. If you have any questions, we ask you to go ahead and post it in the chat room, or you can call in at 347-324-3460. Again, it's 347-324-3460. Or you can go ahead and Twitter us at #AppleCapital. Alan, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Great. I guess to begin with, kind of tell us about yourself. Our audience like personal stories of people, so if you don't mind, just tell us about yourself and how you got started.
Sure. Well, I've been in the IT or internet technology world for about 30 years. I actually ended up in around 96 opening an internet service provider in which people would, we compete with companies like AOL, for people to dial and to connect to the internet through us. That company eventually just went to focus on web development. And then eventually it became the Farpoint Alliance, in which we just narrowed our scope down to everything, digital marketing. So we focus on things like social media marketing, online reputation management, of course, search marketing. Basically anything we can do to bring traffic to your website. My background also includes, got a lot of educational experience, multiple MBAs, certifications in internet marketing, reputation management, even hacking. I'm a certified ethical hacker, if that's any good. So, an extensive background into the technology side and also the marketing side. So, had a good run at this point.
So, you've been doing this since the 90s?
Yes. So, actually, I've been doing this earlier than that. It's just that, most people really think about the internet once the browser came out in 96. So,
yeah,
prior to that was that black screen with the green writing on it. But that was still the internet.
Wow. I guess tell us, if you don't mind, kind of tell us what happened from the green screen to today, how things have really changed.
Well, the browser, which came out, like I said, in 96, a company called Mosaic invented it. Netscape, I don't know if you remember them, took advantage of it and actually expanded it. But the browser allowed for two things to happen: images to work and for you to use what we have already taken for granted, URLs, www.something. Because prior to that, you can always reach a website just using the IP address, but it was too long and too cryptic. And, it would be more confusing. So the URLs actually allowed for everything to happen. And, the browser put it all together and it became a wonderful world since then.
Wow. So when you talk about the URLs, so it was like a shorter address or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because every URL, which stands for Uniform Resource Locator, so that's another bit of little trivia if you didn't know it. Every URL resolves to an IP address. So you still, if whatever website you have, you still can just put the IP address in the browser and get to the same page as you would if you put in www.something.
Well, then it brings up another question. That is the 3 digits, 2 digits, whatever from there. Now, some people have like those addresses, but sometimes they have like 2 or 3. Why is that the case?
It's actually the IP address is there's 3 IP addresses. I'm sorry, there's 4 nodes. So you can have something like 123.123.123.12. And that's actually, what resolves to the URL. But they did that purposely so you can have all these crazy combinations of websites out there. There's over 20 million websites that's out there in the world. And we add about 10% a year.
Wow, so it's going to be to a point that we're going to end up running out.
Well, we've already to the point of running out of the extensions. That's why, originally we had just like the .com, then it went to the .net, because .net originally were only for computer-based sites. You couldn't get that unless you had a network. That's what the net was supposed to be about. You have .edu, all these extensions, and now they're actually, they're coming out with new ones because we're just running out of stuff. And then people, because if you try to get like a vowel not a vowel, sound like I'm on the Wheel of Fortune. If you try to get like a noun or a verb, if you notice that almost all the combinations are taken. People do what's called cyber squatting because you can reserve a name very cheaply. They go out and buy these things and, hope to resell them at a high value.
Wow. Well, tell us, what is search engine marketing?
Search engine marketing
versus also SEO optimization.
Everything really comes under the umbrella of search marketing. The search engine marketing has become synonymous with the pay-per-click piece, and we can talk about that. Where search engine optimization, more or less, is you're doing things to your website in terms of changing the content around, putting in some things like what's called meta tags. That's under the hood, so to speak. You're doing all these things to make it more attractive to the search engine so that you can rank in the free search engine world free. And you can rank highly in the free portion of the search engines versus paying for it, which, Google is very happy to take your money.
So the difference of what you call search engine marketing and search engine optimization, and you're talking about pay-per-click. Now, why they actually want to pay-per-click? Now it becomes so expensive, a lot of people can't afford pay-per-click.
Right, but that's Google's business model. In fact, they've done a very good job of it. Basically, they have become a monopoly. Depending on what report you look at, they have between 78 and 84% of the market share. So people naturally come to it. In fact, their name, Google has become synonymous with, search for me on the internet or something. They say Google this, Google that. Now, what you see in the free results, which are normally towards the middle of your page on your right-hand side, is your pay-per-click always. And the first 2 or 3 spots also at the top are your pay-per-click. They're usually shaded. Everything after that is free. But they've done a very good job to, they limited you to 10 spots there. And your searches, every time you search, you're going to get a different combination of those 10. You could be number 4 1 second. You do a search again, you're number 6. You do another search, you're off the page. Because they don't want you to win in that world. You keep hearing about a new Google change, a new Google update to their algorithms and things like that. They don't want you to be on that first page. As much as possible, they'll keep you off because they want you to pay to be on that first page. And the first page draws in so much revenue that, it's very important that you be there. Those first 3 positions alone, if you're in the free piece, draws in roughly 80% of the traffic for that search item. So when someone searches for high-heel shoes, for instance, those first 3 positions is going to get 80% of the clicks. So it's very important for you to be on that first page. 99% of the people never go past the 3rd page, and roughly 92% never go past the first page. So if you're not, in that top 30, you're not in the game at all. If you're running some type of, especially an e-commerce site, if you're selling something, it's very important that you're, on that first page.
Wow. So even if the person's on the first page, if you're not in the top 3 position, you're saying the less likely as you down on the page because you get less clicks. But you're saying if you don't even go beyond that first page, you might not get anything at all. Now, if you're on the second page, will you have opportunities to get first page on something or with a keyword or?
Yes, with the keywords. But the keywords are important. That's what people, or the search term, that's what, you call it with people, whoever they put into that little white box on the Google to do a search. But yeah, you have to do everything you can get to that first page. And, that's what my company facilitates because of this. It just draws so much revenue. So if you're on the second, you're working hard to get to the first. If you're on the third, you're working hard to get to the second. But otherwise, you're really just not in the game at all.
Well, tell us also what are the big challenges when it comes to search marketing?
the biggest challenge is, like I said, Google and their algorithm. They're constantly changing things because they don't want you to succeed. So, you just try to play by their game rules and try to make it happen, get to the first page. But, essentially, that's why we focus on, other online marketing opportunities to bring traffic to people's sites. There's things that you like Groupon, Living Social, Twitter, Facebook. We look at every platform that's out there in order to bring traffic to people's sites.
Wow. So when it comes to places like Groupons and Living Social, are those a really good alternatives in bringing in traffic?
They're good, very good alternatives to bringing in traffic. It's just that those two items, actually, they take a lot of your money. For instance, if you are offering something, let's say that's $100, by the time all the smoke clear, you may get half of that. So it's a good alternative to bring traffic to your site. But, there's other alternatives, again, that is free that are out there. But you're only as good as the traffic source. And like I said, Groupon, LinkedIn, Facebook, all these things are places where other people go to. So if you're there, they can see your site, a link to your site, and then come, visit your site. Just keep in mind that your conversion rate is probably going to be only about 3%. So, you do a whole lot of work to get, 3%. From 3% of your traffic will result into a sale. So if you get 100 clicks, you're probably only going to get about 3 sales out of it. So exponentially, you have to make sure that you deliver as much traffic as possible you can to your site, because there's so much of it is going to be left on the floor, so to speak.
Okay, I'll follow. So within the last 15 years, Google was pretty much an infant and just known by academic students in the late 90s. Pretty much Yahoo ruled. What happened to that model? Why all of a sudden Yahoo and MSN became really off the map and Google became the map? Because
Yahoo and MSN, which is now Bing, they actually are a combined company. They're not a combined company, but they have a very good working relationship now. We could talk about that later. But basically, those two were originally directories. So the format of it was a little bit different. You would have to, let's say, if you were looking for, a mortgage company, you would start under financial and you would click down to another subcategory of like mortgages. And then you would click down to mortgage companies. So it was very tedious. You had to have a direct mindset on how you wanted, to pursue something. Google came along and said, hey, let's just grab every piece of content out there and rank things and actually return items to you based on that. And they became very good with, predicting patterns and things like that over the years. Because, for instance, if you search for something on your computer and someone else across the country searches for the same thing, you're going to get a different set of results because they now understand your mindset. So they try to throw that into everything. But getting back to your original question, Yahoo being a directory and also MSN and things like that at that time lost market share. And AOL was huge with it. Also with their market, with keyword searches, because they came out selling the keywords. So, everybody else got smacked in the face when Google came out with this algorithm, and then everyone else started doing the same thing. Companies like Ask are still out there, and Yahoo changed how they search work and things like that.
But they didn't adapt. I mean, they just kept what they had, and they really was not changing the market. They still had plenty of time to change, but they didn't. Is there a particular reason why? It's just,
a lot of companies, they just get spoiled. Look at something like a BlackBerry. An iPhone came along with just using something a little bit different and smacking them in the face. BlackBerry is probably 2 years from being completely out of business. Technology changes fast. And if you get to something that provides better usability for people, make it easy for them, people usually change and run after that. And that's basically what happened. Google made it easier for you to find what you were looking for. You did not have to think about the path that you wanted to walk down to get through that, to get to whatever information you were looking for. They said, here it is. You said, thank you.
We're going to take a break real quick. We'll be back in a moment with Alan Jordan, talk about search engine marketing and social media. Be back in one moment.
You're listening to the Core Business Show, sponsored by Apple Capital Group. Apple Capital Group in Jacksonville, Florida, is a commercial lender that specializes in asset-based loans, equipment leasing and financing, invoice financing, commercial real estate loans, and asset-based financing in the U.S. and Canada. Apple Capital Group is a direct lender that lends on their private equity investment portfolio. 90% of most loans are decided within 2 hours, and vendor funding within 24 hours after documents are completed, with a one-page application. No slow no's, just a quick decision and a fast yes. To get more information about lending from Apple Capital Group, call 866-611-7457. That's 866-611-7457 to speak with one of our loan specialists. Or visit us right now at applecapitalgroup.com. Welcome back to the Core. Once again, here's Tim Jacquet.
Well, welcome back again with Alan Jordan, managing partner at 4 Point Alliance. Alan, for a company who has maybe a shoestring budget, who's just starting out, what can they do to try to get their name out there in the marketplace?
Well, one of the cheapest avenues is using some of the social media platforms to leverage, putting their brand out there, like Twitter. Mm-hmm. Now, what you would probably have to do is just find someone that has a huge following and provide multiple tweets with your, with a link to your site, with your website name and things like that. That will allow people to, click through it and go to it. That's probably the cheapest. You can do search engine optimization. In other words, you can do some of the basic things to your site to help you get positioned well in Google. You're never going to make the front page, that first page, unless you take a keyword that doesn't get a lot of traffic, unfortunately. For the more aggressive ones, you actually would probably need professional help because it's just really tricky and very time consuming. Mm-hmm. And for a small business, yes, you can do it yourself, but you're going to spend so much time, chasing that you're going to get away from whatever is your core business. So if, for instance, if you're selling shoes, you're going to spend more time trying to get in the search engine than going out there selling shoes and buying shoes for your store or something to that effect. So you could do things like that. You should, depending on if you are selling to a business or to consumers, doing either B2B or B2C, there's different things that you should do. If you're selling to businesses, there's platforms like LinkedIn would probably be better for you than if you're selling to consumers. You'd sell on Facebook. You have a Facebook presence. But the big thing is you do everything that you can do to get traffic to your site. Because like I said earlier, you're only going to convert about 3%. So you need to get as much traffic as possible. And, some of the offline things, still are viable. Things like newspaper advertisement, radio advertisement, and things like that, as long as you have your URL in there so mm-hmm. people, can get to your website, they still work. Newspapers are just dying, but they have made a difference now that they're selling their ad space so cheap that it has become attractive for some display ads and things like that. Radio advertisement, as long as you have a simple URL, people can remember it, because a lot of times, if you're listening to the radio, do you have a pen handy to write it down? I mean, that is the beauty of the internet, that you can send links around to everything. Okay. But email blasts, but they have to be to your customers. That's why every chance that you can get as a business person, you capture someone's email address so that you can send them something. But with all these spam filters out there, until they, look at your stuff, a lot of times you're going to end up in a junk box somewhere. So email is not that effective anymore. But again, your job is to get your site out there as much as possible. So you have to try every avenue, leave nothing on the floor.
Okay, so we're talking about newspapers. I mean, the ads are getting a little cheaper. Of course, they're a dying breed, but they also got electronic versions of newspapers and magazines. Mm-hmm. Are those better solutions?
They are, but because of the search engine, people don't necessarily go to those direct newspapers anymore. So they're getting their news from so many sources. You get some things that are true, some things that are not true. I mean, for instance, a lot of people believe that, Wikipedia, for instance, is, fact, complete fact. So they use that as their resource, and it isn't. But, if you go to NewYorkTimes.com or something like that, they sell display ads. They're a lot more expensive, but display ads are really nice to build some type of momentum. But unless you are doing a good job of targeting, a lot of people don't write their display ads really well. I'm talking about, banners and displays and things like that. Mm-hmm. Because they become essentially a pay-per-click. And it's a good segue to that is that when you look at the search engines and you look at the pay-per-click model with the little ads on the right-hand side and things like that, they will charge you per click. And that per click can vary any place from 10 cents to $10. So essentially, you do not want someone to click on your ad unless they are a qualified, target customer. So, again, if you're selling something like high heel shoes, do you necessarily want that 8-year-old clicking on that ad?
Well, it can be very expensive.
Yeah. So it adds up. And, people have done some nefarious things in terms of if you're a small shop and your competition across town sees your ad, they'll click on it because they're going to just break your bank.
Well, also when we talk about, you talked about email blasts earlier. Is that an effective way? I mean, the cost of even that is really coming down. Is that a good way of trying to get your name out there? Now, I know that it's opt-in, as they say, but they target a certain media. And do you see some returns? Is that a good solution? Is going with somebody else's list?
No, I don't like going with things. Recommend that at all. Because of, if someone's opting in, they basically went to some, joined some service and said, I will opt into wherever you send me. A lot of people do that with throwaway email addresses. They'll set up a Hotmail address or Yahoo, some free account that they never go in. So that's a waste of time. That's why the emails that you use are the ones that you got from your customers. That's the best ones to use. Find a way on your website to request an email address. People do things like, I will send you a report on something for free. I will send you a sample. I will send you something. It has to be that give and take. Click this box that's basically saying, I am opting in to emails from your company.
Okay.
So that you can capture that email address and send them stuff. And hopefully, you want things to go viral. That is your goal. Viral meaning you want someone else to do the legwork for you. If I send you a link in email, you will say, hey, this is interesting. Now you will send it to your friend who may send it to their friend. So people are doing it for you after that point. But again, it's very important to capture the email address and to be able to, help these things go viral, like people do on YouTube and things like that.
Okay.
But go ahead.
No, you were going to say something else. Go ahead.
I want to say that the biggest thing any business can do is to understand their customer, because all this stuff in marketing, whether you're doing it online or offline, centers around, do you know who your customer is? There is some very fine definition in that. Your customer is a certain person. The world is not your customer. A lot of people think, hey, I can sell to anyone. I can sell my product to anyone. Not really. If you're selling those high heel shoes, is that 8-year-old kid your customer? No, that's not your target customer. If you're selling mortgages, someone who has extremely bad credit, it's not really your targeted customer, because it's never going it's never going to become a sale.
Never going to be goodbye.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're talking about social media, the jury's still out. I mean, I've seen some people have been real successful with social media, but with social media, you have to offer so much. For example, you have to have things that are so attractive, like on Facebook. Hey, sign up for this, and you go for this drawing. To do this, you have to do a little bit more to capture a lot of people's attention and information. So is the jury still out? Is social media a really good option? Or you can look at it as putting your brand out there and you making deposits for the future.
That's a good analogy. That's really what you're doing. I mean, people have done it for years with, all type of advertisement. You never know where that next customer is going to come from. So people buy on brands that they recognize. They may not understand that they saw or heard a radio or a TV ad, 6 months ago, but they recognize the brand. Okay. So you have to do as much as you can to get your brand out there so that when someone decides to make that buy decision, they are, they're doing it with a brand they're familiar with. So let's say, you're searching for something, whatever widget you may search for on the internet, and, Google returns 10 on this page. You never recognize any one of these companies, and then there's one that you see that you recognize. Like, wait a minute, I'm going to click. You're going to more likely click on that one and buy from that one because you're familiar with that brand name.
Okay. What is the future of marketing a business online?
It changes so much. We talked about how Google took market share and dominated from Yahoo and Bing. MySpace, remember that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, Facebook came along and smacked it in the face. Then, Google Plus tried to do the same to Facebook. It hasn't worked out.
Why is that?
I think because more people have become so entrenched in Facebook. Facebook has become more or less a lifestyle for some people. It's over 700 million, Facebook accounts out there and growing. Pretty soon you're going to exceed the population of the earth. And I'm not joking with that. It's because, people open up 2, 3, and 4 different profiles. And the way Facebook is being used right now for different things, you have to do that. But anyway, let me get back to the point. The point is that this stuff changes so much. And once one company does it, another company will do it. And if they become, if they get market share, you're going to be pulled to multiple places like Living Social and Groupon. They do the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's just, so now it's 2 different sites you have to go to. So it constantly changes. It's, it's something that you constantly have to keep up with. There's sites now like Pinterest. Okay. It's always something else.
Yeah, and it's more visual. Wow. So is there things you really have to do that for you to be really serious in the marketplace in search engine marketing? Hey, this is what I absolutely need to do.
It gets back to, like I said, you really have to know your target customer. So it comes down to 2 things. That I'll make it easy for you. Know what your target customer is, and then present your content for that customer. So whatever you have on your website, speak to your target customer, speak about whatever you're selling. That's the bottom line. And then let something like Google do the rest, because it will, because you're going to end up, in the middle of the search engine someplace, but eventually, because it fine tunes itself, you'll work your way towards the front. Will you get to the first or second page? Again, for very competitive words, you're not. But for some of the smaller ones, you will. And change your content. And, you've heard the analogy, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. In our business, we basically say change your content every day. And, you'll bring Google your way. Because Google likes to see that your pages have been updated. So
if not,
it says, okay, let me ignore that because somebody else is updating their pages more.
So how often you need to update? You're saying literally every single day?
Large companies do that. It has to just be one page on your site, any place on your site. But, you want to do that. But I would say at a minimum weekly. A lot of people, which you can do to really help that out is, if you blog, make sure that, your blog is on your site. Having that blog on, another site that is not your part of yours is actually working against you, because now you're working at 2 different sites that you're trying to bring to the search engine. Put the blog on your site. Then when you write something, it will eventually, it looks at it as fresh content, because most people blog monthly. At least that takes that out. But, if you have something changing your product, you can change it.
Okay. And go ahead.
It doesn't have to be extensive, your changes. You can flip some of the words. instead of saying something like, this is the best tool for small businesses, change that sentence to, this is a tool that small businesses use the most. You don't have to get fancy with this. You don't have to rewrite a whole lot of stuff. You just have to just make it so that it's updated. Some people go to the extreme of just changing punctuation.
Wow.
Google doesn't look at it and say, oh, you changed 1,000 words. It just looks at it and say something changed on your site today.
Okay, I follow. When it comes to online reputation, the last part of that, I mean, a review can kill you because it travels faster than anything else. What things I think people can combat the online reputation? Because if one person does write something, it just feeds through everything else. And is always at the top of the search engine.
That's because a lot of the sites like a Yelp, a Manta, the Better Business Bureau, these type of sites have what's known as high authority. So they're already ranked high in the Google search engine. So when someone puts a bad review or a testimonial out there, it can kill you. The biggest point in online reputation management is to make sure that you yourself monitor your reputation so that you can know how to react to it.
What can you do to react to something quickly? Because sometimes, this can happen on a Friday. You might not be aware of it until you come back on Monday morning.
Right. There's something called Google's Alert.
Okay.
You Google it. But essentially what you do is you sign up for Google Alert. It's free. And you'll put something in there in terms of what's the search criteria. So, for instance, if it's your company name, you put your company name in there. So anytime there's something out there on it, somebody puts something new on the internet, so to speak, Google will send you an email and say, hey, this is out there.
Okay.
So that's a good way to monitor it. And a lot of people don't do it. I would say 99% of businesses don't monitor their reputation. And like you said, what could you do? The big thing, because I deal with this, my clientele come to me because they have reputation problems, is the first question I ask them, is it true? It's like being a defense attorney. Did you shoot that guy? It's like, yes. Okay, now tell me the story, and then we can figure out how we can fix this. But if you deny it, it's not going to help. For instance, I have one client. Yeah, you got to change the practice. Whatever someone put up there on that page, if it's true, you got to change that. You can't just let it happen. I have one client that owned a moving company, and some people have put some reviews up that they basically, broke stuff, stole things from them, and things like that. And I asked the guy, the owner, is this true? Yes. Well, I don't know if it's true, but I don't believe, the customer. Okay. They feel this way, and they're putting this stuff out there. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to make them whole? Are you going to refund them? Or are you going to do something nice for them to make them feel better? No. Well, then I can't help you because you're just digging a deeper hole every time you ignore that. That's why if you go to a restaurant, and, you complain you didn't like your food, the first thing they're going to do is, they'll take it off your bill, or they'll give you, a coupon for, a free drink or something, because they don't want you to go write that review. So other businesses have to follow through on that, because after the barn door is closed, after that review has been posted, you have to take that moment and reflect and say, okay, is that true? What can I do about it? Because sometimes you can approach that customer, and, that same guy who put something out there bad about you, if you approach them, if you know who they are, that's another thing. But if you approach them and try to make them whole, they will come back and say, you did the right thing, which is very powerful in terms of customer service.
So you need to make it whole as soon as possible.
Soon as possible.
Tell us some other things that your company specializes in and helping your clients.
Well, those three facets actually, between the search marketing, because that covers, free and paid and all the facets around there, online reputation management and social media, all of them are interlinked. So when someone comes to me, their biggest thing is, how do I bring more traffic to my site? We have to analyze it across all three spectrums, because you may be bringing traffic to your site, but you may also have an online reputation problem, or you don't have an online reputation. So if you don't have an online reputation, you have an online reputation problem. So if no one has ever put any reviews out there about your site, depending on your business, if you own a restaurant, you want to see reviews. If you have a hotel, you want people to have reviews out there, so that, because people look at that it's a referral, essentially. People look at it as those referrals and say, hey, maybe I will go to that restaurant because that person said the drinks were strong, the food was good, versus, it tastes like microwave pizza. I've seen, you've seen that. So we tie everything together.
Okay. So with you handle search engine marketing, of course, and social media marketing, online reputation. And I'm going to assume online reputation, once the fire's been lit, and if it's getting really bad, is it to a point that it gets so bad that, hey, you just need to close shop and do something else? Or you guys be able to dig them out of the hole and say, hey, they had denied, and all of a sudden, okay, we're on up to it. What can we do? Does it get to a point that, you say, what can you kind of dig themselves really beyond the 6-foot grave?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like having bad credit. You can have bad credit, but there's also things you can do to correct it. But it's not something that you can do overnight. When you have this bad online reputation, you can dig that hole really deep, but you can clean it up. And the way to clean it up is you basically counteract what is going on. So let's say you have a restaurant that's known for being dirty. Number one thing you have to do is say, okay, I have a dirty restaurant, clean it up. Then from there, you get as many reviews as possible to say, hey, these people have done a renovation. It's a great place to go to now, blah, 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 blah. It basically, if you have 10 reviews and 8 of them are bad, what you want to do is say, let me take the next 10 and make them good. So it's like playing, baseball with a batting average. If you see more things good than bad, you eventually win in the game. But again, it can't happen overnight. And a lot of times you have to change some type of business practice. Whatever got you in trouble, you got to fix.
Okay. Anything you'd like to close with about your particular company, and of course, how we can contact you, and from there?
Well, my URL is www.farpointalliance.com or www.spamarketing.com. Either one gets you to the same place. We specialize in bringing traffic to your website by any means necessary, by any means possible, in order to generate additional new customers and sales for your business.
Perfect. And that's the website address. And if there's a local number or a number for them to call or email?
Oh, we actually have, a nice little toll free, 877-626-8385. Or you can see, I will answer any question directly. I'm Alan, ALEN-Jordan, JORDAN at farpointalliance.com. So if you have any questions, you can email me directly and I will respond.
Great. Alan, I really appreciate you coming on the program and sharing all your information with us. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
Great. Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. This has been a production of the Apple Capital Group, the Core Business Show. Thank you for listening, all. And you can download this episode on iTunes, on Blog Talk Radio. Everybody have a great day and take care.
Thank you for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet. For a free quote on equipment leasing and financing, visit our website, applecapitalgroup.com. That's applecapitalgroup.com. And fill out the information to receive your free quote. We hope you'll join us for our next episode. And remember, you can always get to the core via iTunes. You'll find all our previous episodes there. Thanks again for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet.